In this episode of Business is Personal, I'll be sitting down with Natalia Wiedemeyer. She is the CEO of Graviteams, and she does amazing team and executive coaching. We're going to be talking about the value of coaching and the differences between team and individual coaching in organizations and how profitable that can be. We're also going to talk about how to deal with somebody who doesn't want to be coached. So you do not want to miss this episode, but before you continue, make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn, Dr. Corey Block. Do you feel disconnected at work? Are you feeling exhausted? Almost like you hate your job and secretly maybe your boss too? This is Business is Personal, a blueprint to discovering and creating meaning at work in collaboration with Smashy TV, a live streaming service in the Middle East for the driven, the dreamers, and the doers. I'm so excited to have Natalia with me. Thank you so much for joining me. She is the CEO of Graviteams, and you are an amazing business and teams coach for organizations. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because we're in the same line of work. So this is really cool. Why don't you introduce yourself to our friends here and tell them what you do?
Yes, thanks. So I'm a business coach and team coach. And I have started this company, Graviteams, which is about teamwork. So Graviteam stands for gravity in teamwork. And, gravity is this invisible force that keeps us on the ground and planets in their orbits, and we take it for granted. This is the physical gravity. But the social gravity works a little bit different in terms that we cannot just be taking it for granted because then it disappears. So it works a lot better if we work on it. So that's what I'm working, basically helping teams to reach that gravity and gravitate around their goals, around their mission, and perform better.
Brilliant. I love that. And I love the picture of gravity actually among teams, because you know those teams when you get on where you're just all kind of like gel together and you just can't wait to hang out with each other. I would love for that to be everybody's experience of work, that they can't wait to get to work because the people they're spending their day with are amazing and they all get along. But how often does that happen, right?
Yes. And how does it how often does it happen naturally, right?
Right.
So you come and, we all know this team formation process.
Sure.
That also has conflicts and also has some, everyone's kind of trying to secure their stake or establish their role or establish their, And the moment the team realizes that they work together on a joint something.
Sure.
And have this kind of psychological safety and feeling comfortable to be creative and to perform their best.
Right.
That's when the true potential of teamwork is unfolded.
Yeah, it's true. And I think we've moved past the kind of cliched forming, storming, norming, transforming idea of how teams are built. And now we just know it's like storming all the time, right? And some of it's like energized storming, and the more storming we could do, right? There's brainstorming and all of it. And we come up with our most creative ideas when we have not just good trust, but also creative friction. And so holding that storming intention, I think, is really important to making sure that teams perform at their absolute best.
Right.
Do you find the same?
Yes, I find the same. And, productive conflict actually sparked ideas, right?
Exactly.
So that's what you're saying, that, this creativity, it comes from each other challenging their ideas, improving on their ideas. Your first idea is never your best.
That's right. That's right.
And if you're safe enough to express this idea in the team and, to have feedback of your colleagues, to be able to improve it, that's the thing.
But that's the foundation of it, right? In order to be able to express your ideas, you have to have trust.
Yes, absolutely.
So trust then becomes the foundation before the ideas can be expressed.
Right.
And then we can deal with the ideas as they come and go, right? Yeah. How do you get to that trust place?
Well, trust is, everyone talks about trust, and all the teams do their workshops on trust and everything. But we have to understand that trust may be something different for each person or for, in each team. So team creates a kind of like a culture.
Yeah.
And trust, let me just name you a few examples of trust. So trust can be, I trust you that you do whatever you promised you would do.
Right.
That's part of trust. Or I trust you that you would challenge me if you see that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That's trust. I don't trust you that you would do a stupid thing that I have asked you to do because you think you can do better, or you can do better. Trust is that, obviously trust is that we like each other.
Right.
It's most elusive part of trust, or most elusive aspect of trust, but that's what we, try to create the culture around so that it evolves.
I think for me, when I'm working on organizational culture and coaching, I work on trust from the basis of shared expectation. Trust is when I believe that our expectations are shared. So you're going to behave a certain way, I'm going to behave a certain way, and we can fulfill each other's expectations with relative ease because we've communicated them well. I think that's the foundation of trust.
It is. So in team coaching, how I prefer to work is to help everyone understand, like why we are doing this. So there's like big why, and what's the very specific goal. So I work on like specific goals, like not only we do our, marketing campaign, but what do we want to achieve with this marketing campaign? We want to achieve this by then. We want to achieve this target audience. We want to convince them of this quality of the product, and we want to achieve that potential within the market, right?
That's right.
So once you understand, like once your team understands this, and they are all connected around this goal, then you can go to each individual and say, okay, based on your understanding, what would be your best performance? How can you contribute in the best way from your personal perspective, kind of, like giving your personal experience, giving your personal skills, giving your role, like expectation of the team. How can you perform your best?
Right.
So also what we do, we help to contract it, like a team would sit together and say, I would do that. And in order for me to do my best, I need you to do that and that.
Right.
Or I need, like this is my offer to the team, and this is my request from the team.
Sure.
So this is what I would like you guys to help me on.
Right. No, that's good. Like I do the same with my clients. I mean, among coaching teams, you want them to have some sort of agreement between them, what they're going to be doing and why they're doing it, because they're dedicating half of their lives to whatever that is, right?
Right.
So it should be important. It should be meaningful enough to write it down. With individuals, it's a little bit different because they're writing down agreements with themselves to try and make sure things happen. And they're negotiating with themselves to try to make sure that they move their energies in the direction of decisions that they've made and attitudes that they've chosen.
Right.
So from an individual's perspective or from a group perspective, I think coaching, nowadays it's becoming a lot more popular, but it's not ubiquitous yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
So what would you say to those companies whose leaders are saying, actually, you know what, we don't really need coaching. Why would we ever have coaching in our company?
Well, first of all, because with coaching you can do better.
That's true.
Right? Like if you want to have, like better body shape, you hire a coach.
Yeah.
If sports people and athlete want to perform better, he hires a coach.
That's right.
So it's the same kind of thing with business, where the coach is not, like trying to fix something in you.
Sure.
You are amazing the way you are, but you can do better. Like you always can do better.
Yeah.
And you can be open to, like to your own depth of knowledge, of ideas.
Right.
So it's coaching on the individual level. That's why it's so exciting. And it's kind of like people really enjoy coaching because it makes them feel great. And they see how much they can achieve by doing that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So I had my own coaching experience back in my corporate days. So I come from corporate world.
Right.
And it was really transformational. It was really good. And it was really, made me realize that I could do things that I was never aware of.
Right. Yeah, of course. Well, look, nobody gets to the top of any game without a coach, right? Like you said, athletics, music is the same, art. If you want to be a world-class surgeon, you're not going to get there without coaching. Okay?
Exactly.
So in any game, and I think now the majority of the Fortune 500 C-suite, they all have individual coaches. And I think it's important. Look, I'm going to separate between team coaching and individual coaching when it comes to organizations, because in team coaching, you don't get the same level of vulnerability and transparency because there's still politics on the team. But in individual coaching, there's no politics. And as long as there's privacy and confidentiality, you can move a lot further, a lot faster, because you can actually get that single player to be totally vulnerable about their imposter syndrome and the skills they don't have and the insecurities they have and the politics and pressures from inside the organization that are pushing on them. And sometimes often that goes right up to the CEO. Yes.
Well, it depends on the organizational culture, right? So you started with the organizational culture at the beginning of our conversation, and it's what kind of culture do you have there? Do you get punished for mistakes, or do you get the learnings? Can the whole team learn? Like we don't have to learn from our own mistakes. Mm-hmm. If you have this level of vulnerability in the team and you can share and you can say, okay, this happens. How do we make the best learning out of it?
I agree.
would have we done if we have known better, or we have not known. So that was, like the best decision that could have happened at that time. And what can we do better in the future?
Yeah,
On
absolutely.
the team level.
Well,
and to bridge this, sorry.
Go, it's fine, it's fine.
And to bridge this, to create the bridge from individual coaching of leadership coaching, let's say, right,
Yeah,
to
sure.
team coaching. So you have this leader that obviously you coach the whole person. So you don't coach only the business aspect, right?
Right.
So you mentioned imposter syndrome, some maybe insecurities, some
Yes.
other kind of like limiting beliefs and stuff. So if you coach this leader on his leadership, on her leadership,
Right.
and you help this leader realize that the team, if they work together in a cohesive way, they can achieve more.
Yes.
So you basically help the leader to become a team coach.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah,
and once you help him to become a team coach, I mean, the level of vulnerability and the level of trust in the team starts where it is. Just like with individual coaching, you start there where the person is,
Exactly.
and you build on that. So this is really exciting because you go from coaching the leader to help him coach the team with him together.
That's right. No, I've done that in a couple of organizations as well, and I've seen how that can be massively transformative for the team once they get to that place where there's vulnerability and transparency and trust. And I've always said that the transparency and trust go together. Okay, if you want to build trust, be transparent. If you want to break trust, stop being transparent. And the more transparent you can be, the more trust you'll build, and they have this recursive building factor, right? So, and then the other thing is just understanding that coaching is not optional for high performers.
Right.
If you have anybody on your team that's making $1 million decisions on behalf of your organization, a coach should not be an option. It should be mandatory because that person is going to need somebody apolitical, not political, I mean outside of the politics, to be able to be vulnerable with and transparent with about the insecurities that they have, the skills that they need, and their own concerns before they make these $1 million decisions, right? They should have access to a coach. More often than not, my coachees, probably like yours, they're telling me things that they would never tell their board of directors. They would never tell the chairman. They would never tell the CEO. And they can tell their spouses, and their spouses are supportive, but they don't really understand the business.
Some don't even tell their spouses, but they tell their coaches.
And then what do? Yes, that's true. And
so they need a coach as a ventil, like as a way to deal with those emotions, to maybe even get out, to put it on paper, to get it out of their head.
Yes.
So that's the thing. I wanted just to come a little bit on the question of trust and transparency. So obviously trust and transparency go together, but it's also a thing, like you don't have to be absolutely transparent to have trust. It's okay to say, look, it's something I do not really want to bring in, and you trust me that we are still okay, even if I, don't completely strip myself down, right?
That's right.
So this is also this level of trust that does not have to go to the very deep, being absolutely transparent, let's say, okay? And again, from individual coaching to team coaching, a team coach works with a team lead. He works or she works with a team, but the team is comprised of those individuals. So obviously, at certain point, it's possible that a team coach starts working with individuals.
Yeah.
And no matter whether we're working on team coaching or individual coaching, we adhere to the coaching ethics, where the agenda of the coachee is more important than any other agenda.
Right.
So the goal of the team coach, on top of helping the individual to perform better, is to make this cohesive team. So having this in mind, there's like two levels, two layers, right?
Sure.
So helping this person do their best within this framework of this team. And obviously there is always this structure. So it's not only doing best, but it's also the facilitation.
Yeah, sure.
It's also partially maybe training even, like on the methodology. So they still own the content, the team and the leader. And the coach owns the methodology.
That's right. So what do you do? How do you handle it when you have like one or two members of the team that just do not want to participate and aren't engaged and aren't leaning in? What do you do? How do you do that? I know because I've dealt with this too, right? And even at the highest levels in the best organizations, you still have somebody who knows better, right? An SVP of whatever who's like, no, we don't need this.
Right.
Why are we doing this?
You're right. So, I mean, not everyone is coachable. And to be coachable, you have to have this kind of like open mindset, to have this, you know, like the acceptance of I can do better.
Yeah.
You know, if you already know all the answers, you don't need a coach.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The answers. There are different ways. I mean, obviously, so one thing is, again, coaching the individuals, but another thing is coaching the team. And you really want, like, if your mandate is to coach the team,
right,
and the team is not performing, what does a football team coach does when someone doesn't perform? He sits on the bench,
That's
or
right.
he leaves the team,
That's
or
right.
he, you know. So it does not have to come, it's never going to come from the team coach.
Right, right.
But you can help the team leader to do better in managing the team, you know, like in making sure that everyone contributes, participates, and does their best, and does not sabotage the team or common goals or whatever.
Right.
So this is this aspect of coaching the leader. And hopefully in every team that I coach, and that's usually how I get into teams,
yeah, sure.
I'm aligned with the team leader.
Yeah, good.
Right? So if you work together with the team leader, you know, like if there is trust between the coach and the team leader, then you can help the team leader to handle the situation in the best way for the team.
Yeah, I like that too. And honestly, I've dealt with some really high-performing teams that have a few low-performing individuals, and generally speaking, we move them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but like you said, some people just do not want to be coached, and you have to recognize that there is no way to the top without a coach. Like nobody's omnipotent, nobody's omni-talented, nobody's omni-skilled, and unless you have a coach, you're probably not going to reach that top level of whatever career path you think you're on, right? You're not going to get to that global level. So for each individual in the organization, as well as for the organization's own performance as a whole, it's important to have that kind of input on not just what you're doing, but how you're doing it.
Exactly.
That methodology is really important. Well, let me ask you one more question. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, so business is personal. And for me, coaching really blurs the line between strategy and counseling. So when I'm working at the top level with executive clients, I'm blurring that line between counseling and strategy. And I think that's really meaningful for me to be able to add value that way. What would you say is the most meaningful part of your job as a coach?
So counseling, the way at least, you know, like that was always told us in my coaching school, when I back to my coaching school, that counseling is something that you kind of like dwell a little bit longer within the problem. So you try to fix the problem, you know? So coaching is kind of like a flip side, which connects to the strategy.
Yep.
Where do I want to go? I'm here right now, and I might have problems. I probably do. I most of the times do, because that's where I start.
Yep.
I want to solve something, I want to improve something, I want to move somewhere. But that's it, you know, like I'm there. So we don't really have to go into childhood trauma. We don't really have to go, you know, like into deep psychology.
Yeah.
We are there and we look what would be the best way and the best methods and the best, you know, like combination of measures.
Yeah, sure.
To get you where you want to be.
And what about, I mean, for you personally.
For me personally,
yeah. What do you find most meaningful at work?
For myself.
Yeah, for yourself.
For myself, yeah. Well, I learn from every coach, you know, coaching.
I know.
Like sometimes,
I get an education from each of my clients too, right?
Yeah. So sometimes they have an insight, and I'm having an insight, and I'm writing my insight down. And it's like, that's amazing. This person thinks in completely different way than I do. I'm trying to impose my like not my way of thinking. I'm, you know, like I'm kind of like a very structured person. So there's this. Not a problem, we don't say problem, but you know, like the status quo.
Yeah.
And that should be a goal. And this goal has to be at least smart.
Yeah.
Achievable, exciting,
yeah,
right?
Sure.
But it should be, in my perspective or perception, it needs to be concrete, specific.
Yeah,
sure.
But
then you have people that are more process-oriented, which is also okay, you know.
And then they just need an aim, you know, just point them in the direction of where they should go.
So their aim is the process. Their aim is, you know, like to attract certain type of people in their life, you know, like, and then you don't say, okay, so I have attracted, you know, like I make a checkpoint.
Yeah.
You know, like and for me, the best experiences is when you seeing, okay, this person know what he or she is talking about, and my task is to help him or her to get more clarity and not to understand what's going on. Right. Because it's their picture in their head. And my task as a coach is not to see the picture, but to help them see the picture in more clarity.
Amazing. Who's your coach?
Who's my coach?
Yeah.
I have my dear mentor who is mentoring me and coaching me is Aaron Turner. He is the leader, the founder of LIM, Leadership in Motion. This
Right.
is this team coaching institute.
Amazing.
And,
Oh, very cool.
I'm looking very much up to him and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get his advice.
Oh, you can tell. Like, that was really amazing, the way you talked about him. And you can tell, like, you really grab onto his advice. And the way that he's shaped you has really moved the direction, or let's say the needle on your career. Am I right?
Yes, yes. I just found, I kind of like found, you know, like with this team coaching. So how did I come to team coaching? Team coaching is, it's definitely a thing. It might be a new thing within like the coaching profession.
Sure.
But if you take team coaching as a combination of consulting, training, facilitation, coaching itself, this is none of these aspects are new to me. It's just like putting them all together was something that actually like put my personal ambitious careers, you know, like career ambitions and personal development ambitions into place. So,
Perfect.
and it was with Leadership in Motion, so that was, and with Ernie personally, so yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. Thank you for sharing your story and your experience with us. It's been so nice to have you.
Thank you so much, Corey. Thank you so much.
Do you feel disconnected at work? Are you feeling exhausted? Almost like you hate your job and secretly, maybe your boss too? This is Business is Personal, a blueprint to discovering and creating meaning at work in collaboration with Smashy TV, a live streaming service in the Middle East for the driven, the dreamers, and the doers.